if you look at it, Norvell and DeBoer, I think they're proven elite level coaches on the field. I mean, almost never make decisions on the field to be criticized. They score points. I think they know how to manage staffs and hire people. But recruiting is a major question with those guys. I think Florida State's probably really disappointed with the recruiting class just signed relative to what they did on the field. It's the third year in a row they've completely botched recruiting in the front seven. They don't have any difference makers on that team that they've recruited in the front seven. If you're Alabama, you're not going to accept some of these guys that they have on their staffs at Florida State and Washington from a recruiting standpoint. If you're Greg Byrne, you'd be like, hey, we expect to beat Kirby and Hugh Freeze on the recruiting trail. This kind of stuff not acceptable.
Second to them.
Correct. This kind of stuff ain't acceptable. All right. We're not doing this 10, 12 transfer portal guys and being really good. We want great, and good is the enemy of great. So everybody that they would consider has questions.
I've got Lanning, real quick math, 8-5 against top 25 opponents over the last 2 seasons. A lot of opportunities, they're in the Pac-12, but 2 losses to Washington this year, obviously, and then a loss to Washington last year to go with a Oregon State loss and a Georgia loss when they got beat 49-3 at the beginning of the 2022 season.
Do you think Kalen DeBoer, his name keeps coming up at all? Like Michigan, it was then, and I get it. Some Big Ten ties. Was it Indiana? Still was kind of a reach. I didn't think it was a great fit. Now Bama, his name's mentioned. Not much experience in the SEC. That one I would maybe say I'm a little worried. You don't know what he's going to do in that region.
If it weren't for Brian Kelly, because when the Brian,
sure?
What about Urban Meyer?
When the Brian Kelly hire went down, I was like, I don't know about this, but he's got an SEC West title, a Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah.
I mean, the number that would concern me there is 36. Washington just played for the national title, and they finished 36th in recruiting.
Yeah.
That's kind of the concern, I think, with DeBoer and Norvell. They have not shown that they can recruit and win the big time battles and hire. You got to have the right balance on your staff if you are taking one of these jobs where the national title is the expectation. Okay. And the balance, between coaching and recruiting. And some of these guys who are more ball coaches than they are CEOs, they lean a little more towards the coaching aspect when it really is about getting as many genetic freaks on your roster as you possibly can. So yeah, but again, I don't think there's really any bad choices that they can make amongst any of the guys we just listed. They're all really good. The Cristobal thing is hilarious because I really badly want to see kneel down botch 3.0. But if you put Mario Cristobal at Alabama, he would sign 25 of the top 27 players in the country. It would be just completely nuclear.
If you saw my eyes bug out, those of you watching on youtube.com/cover3, it's because not Danny Cannell, but Danny Grayson, tailgate, just dropped me with this one.
Do you believe?
If Mike Norvell goes to Alabama, then Florida State has to make a hire. And if Florida State has to make a hire,
do you believe?
Would you go for the former superstar?
Greatest defensive back of all time, Hall of Famer. What a great recruiter. Couldn't say a good thing about him.
Not a graduate of your university, not technically an alumni.
But I believe he has a degree now.
Yes, he does. He did. He made that clear.
That is important because you cannot be a head coach in the state of Florida at a state school if you don't have your degree.
Man, y'all state laws messing up conferences, making coaching hires complicated, broadcasting your board meetings.
If I'm Mike Alford, I do have some other qualifications if I was making a hire. Do you know the overtime rules would be an important question I would ask in an interview, right? And I'm like, I don't believe that you do. Hard no on that. But
are you nervous about Norvell leaving? Because I think if he's offered it, I almost think he has to take it, right?
Well, I think if you're Norvell, you know that you just botched an opportunity in recruiting. You just went 13-0. Also, I'm relatively confident that Florida State's going to get out of the ACC. I don't know when that's going to happen. If you're Norvell, how many bites at the apple that is the Bama job do you get? So I think he would be a serious candidate for it. Yeah.
If I was in Mike Norvell's shoes, I would assume that my stock price is as high as it's going to be for the next 3 years.
Yes.
But after the 24, 25, and maybe even 26 seasons, it ain't going to be coming off 13-1, which that one was notable, but I would take advantage of this opportunity and my life would be set And guess what? You know what happens after you might get fired from Alabama? I bet you can go get yourself another power conference job somewhere.
Are you nervous if you're Texas, or you're like, hey, Texas is a better job than Saban immediately post Alabama?
We hit that a little bit on the recap or on the breaking news pod yesterday. I think Sark stays at Texas. I think it's equivalent, if not much deeper. I think their NIL program and their ability to bring in players is more significant than Bama. And they got oil money. And you got the good graces of Texas. I think he's in a pretty good place where I think you would say thanks, but no thanks.
I actually think that of the guys we listed, Florida State, Oregon, and Texas have definitively better NIL than Alabama does, I believe.
Florida State?
Yeah. I think they were one of the highest payrolls in the country last year. But that's important because whoever Alabama hires, kids will not take a discount to come play for the new guy like they did to come play for Nick.
Correct. That's fair. I mean, you can say Alabama, like Quentin Williams, has told us about the experience. You just start walking through that hallway and you just understand the greatness. But guess what? That greatness was the pitch of going to the NFL and being coached by Nick Saban. So different kind of situation there. Any chance, Urban Meyer?
I don't think so.
There's always a chance. It's college football. I don't think so.
Do you think is there anybody that we are missing from Burns' connections to the West Coast?
Because he was at Arizona before he was at Alabama. What else? What are his other West Coast connections that you're thinking? I mean, is he going to is he getting Lincoln Riley? Is Lincoln Riley going to up and leave USC and come to Alabama?
I don't think so. I don't think so either. He spent 8 years at Arizona, so he made. I don't know.
Someone said, "Come on, Greg, bring it full circle. Get Rich Rod. Let's go."
Oh, gosh.
He hired Rich Rod at Arizona, and hey, you know what? Maybe you can hire him at Alabama, and that whole Rich Rod to Alabama thing can actually happen. What was it? I guess that would be 2007. So 17 years after Rich Rod said no. Yeah.
No matter who they hire. What's the over-under on how long they last? 4.5 years?
If it is, I think we'll see. I would go over if it is Lanning. I think his age.
You need to see who it is.
I need to see who it is. I think his age is part of the selling point. He is jumping in to. We need to do this. There's a bright future here, and he'll win enough on recruiting trails that even if he is losing 2 to 3 games a year and getting everybody real mad at him, I think the off-season wins will be enough to, keep the angry mob at bay. I don't know if it's an older coach and he's not picking up the wins on the field or on the trail. It could be under.